Finally, one of the most anticipated action sequences arrives in Andor. This is the penultimate episode of the latest Star Wars series, and we find ourselves asking whether next week's Season 1 finale will answer all of our questions or leave us with more. This is our full review of Andor Episode 11, as such, here's your spoiler warning. Greetings my young Padawans, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. Like always, before we jump into this video, use the force and hit that subscribe and like button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Star Wars Now. As always, if you're talking about Star Wars, we want to hear about it. So unfortunately in this episode, we find out that Maarva Andor, Cassian's mother, passed away between episodes. It's a shame that we don't have a final moment, but perhaps she recorded something for Cassian before she passed away, and is waiting for him to come home to receive it. As we do see his room is fixed up from him, and I guess the house would pass him despite him being a wanted criminal. I will say the character performs best in this episode, after the great monologues of Kino and Luthen's last episode, has to be B, the droid, or B2EMO. The amount of emotion where B is in the house and the daughters of Ferrex are tending to Maarva's body is heartbreaking. B is the dog of the Andor family, being described as such in interviews and all of the things around it, but being able to vocalize the grief and loneliness of having the owner pass makes it all sadder to watch. The droid team of designers, creators and those who control B's movements have done a great job ever since the beginning of giving this droid life, and they continue to do so. I hope we see him in Season 2. Only a small scene of Mothma this week, but what we do see does scare me quite a bit. Her daughter is very much going from a traditionalist viewpoint, which is fine. Still, traditionalism and nationalism don't always go well when paired with fascist regimes such as the Empire, and what this tradition involves, i.e. being married off as young as the age of 15. And that Mothma is also probably going to sacrifice her daughter to Devil Squadron's son, to help herself not get caught so she can continue to help the rebellion. It's tough. We know the second season will time jump even more. However, I hope we might see the repercussions of Mon Mothma's decisions in the first season. A conversation with Rael seems to hint that dealings with Luthen might come back to haunt her, especially the money situation. Another issue is the Gorman massacre, which we know is coming soon. Luthen goes to meet with Saw Gerrera, who wants to now work with Anton Krieger, and now that Luthen has decided to throw Krieger to the wolves or under the bus to keep Lonnie Zhang as an asset, he needs to dissuade Saw. He does so by telling part of the truth. He will sacrifice 30 men and Krieger. What I loved about this scene is that it further explains just how paranoid Saw gets and how he ends up by Rogue One. Knowing that Luthen has sources in the ISB, where else does Luthen have spies? Think they're everywhere. Though we do get this bit of moment and lovely bit of levity with Luthen claiming 2 tubes is a spy, which did get a quick laugh out of me. We get a good look at Krieger in a holo image during the interrogation of Bix Kayleen on Ferrex, and he's described well by Saw and Luthen in their previous meeting. He is an ox of a man. Okay. I've got to say the one moment that stood out for me was the Fondor versus the arrested cruiser.
Countermeasures armed. What is that?
Since the trailer for Andor showed us the starship going head to head with the ship, we've been wondering what the hell is going on. Well, Luthen almost gets caught by the Galactic Empire as they monitor communications around Spellhouse. Nope, it's not Spellhouse, it's Segro Minor. Well, Luthen almost gets caught by the Empire as they monitor communications around Segro Minor. Thankfully, the Fondor, although only a small starship, can jump free of Imperial capture and deal a crippling blow to the Imperial starship. The whole engagement is a quick one, although we're left seeing the abilities of a Fondor holograph. Notably, we see the countermeasures which deploy something like shrapnel, which do disable the tractor beam by destroying the emitter dish. However, the system that still confuses many is the beam weaponry. These weapons deploy from the port and starboard and can take out 2 TIE fighters when the Fondor rolls to strike them. Maybe we'll eventually learn more about what the ship system is. Currently, it does remind me of an LA-AT gunship's beam weapons. Suffice it to say, the big question is, what now? Luthen has escaped, destroying several TIE fighters and causing heavy damage to an important Imperial asset. I doubt the ISB and Imperial Navy will look this calmly. They have the Fondor's design on file, but they only have the Alderaanian chain code. However, does this mean there's a time limit on Luthen's head? The season finale next week might be the end of the line for Luthen Rael. More on this in a minute. So we don't get much of Cassian in this episode, but what we do get is interesting. After the last episode, he's escaped to prison but is still on Narcona 5 and has stuck with Melshi. Again, I just love that we have Melshi along for the ride, explaining why he trusts Cassian so much in Rogue One and vice versa. They try to steal a quad jumper from some aliens, one of which is described in the subtitles as an Arconian, a native of the planet, angry with the Empire's prison factories have been polluting their planet's water. But the other alien character is of greater importance. We did not forget the character's name unfortunately, but they are Corrodian and have a cybernetic implant over one eye. Interestingly enough, about this Corrodian, we have seen one before. Cyreed Ock from Rogue One, a member of Saw's partisan rebel forces, who we do see on Jeddah. That Corrodian also had a cybernetic implant over one of his eyes, so this might be the same one or the same character, unless it's particularly fashionable for this species to have such implants. But interestingly, he helps Cassian and Melshi escape and they go to any planet they want, aiding rebels and having no love for the Empire. They might eventually find themselves joining a partisan force of Saw Gerrera, which is wild to think about as these two characters will meet up again on Jeddah during Rogue One. Anyway, Cassian and Melshi make their way to Neomos, where Cassian's box is still at the hotel, where another alien we used in Rogue One is sleeping in the bed. This alien in the prison cell was the one with Jyn Erso, if that makes sense, you might remember. What is great to see is that in Cassian's box is Nemik's manifesto from the Aldani raid. Because of a prison incident, Cassian may be more receptive to Nemik's manifesto, which Nemik has also narrated, so at least his voice can still be heard after his unfortunate death. Cassian finds out that Maarva has died from Zan on Ferrix, who he contacts, and he and Melshi decide to split up, though I'm sure we'll see more of Melshi in the second season. Perhaps they join the rebellion in different ways and meet on Yavin 4. That would be sweet. It seems like everyone is heading to Ferrix for a grand finale, but will there be enough time for one final episode to tie the season together? We know from trailers that Dedra Meero will be on Ferrix with a contingent of Death Troopers. Now, Death Troopers are assigned to matters of the Tarkin Initiative, so could this hint at a prison's connection? If they manage to connect Cassian to the prison, his name is under Keith, but the guards who might have survived see his face, and the prison could be making Death Star components. It would be well within a right for Dedra to use Death Troopers to hunt down Cassian, as he's a risk to the Tarkin Initiative. This could also be seen as another power grab by Meero. Though she I suppose is doing her job for the right reason, she has gained considerable power since surpassing Overseer Blevin, and could be wanting more. What plot points will be tied up at the end of the episode is my question. I initially expected Luthen to die in Season 1, and that may still be the case, but I think he's required to help further get the rebellion up and running before he dies. This job could go to Kalea, his assistant and enforcer, but Luthen is probably still needed, especially being the only contact for the ISB mole. So in the end, we could see Luthen and Cassian join forces and maybe even Cyril and Dedra join forces to lead us into Season 2. Dedra may be impressed that Cyril, with his limited resources, could find out such information and employ him into the ISB. But with one episode left, Cassian is a stellar first season, and I can't wait to see how they get out of it. Okay, Exiled Ones, that's it for me. We've got less than 1 week until the season finale for Andor. It's been a fantastic Star Wars series so far, and we can't wait to see what the season finale brings. Then, we're on to the second season, likely in 2024. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore, and more. You can also follow us on social media as well, but please let us know what you think in the video comment section below. Because if you're talking Star Wars, we want to hear about it. Okay everyone, I've been Captain Jack here on Star Wars Now. Thank you very much for watching, and may the Force be with you. Goodbye.